Hola a todos, mi nombre es Diana y estoy aquí por parte de Global Language Services, porque los organizadores de este evento se han comprometido con la justicia del lenguaje para poder crear un espacio seguro donde todos pueden participar y escuchar en el idioma de su corazón, y eso se dará a cabo utilizando interpretación simultánea. En un momento podrán ver un icono de un mundo con 3 opciones en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Cuando sea visible, por favor haga clic en el mundo y seleccione el idioma en el que guste escuchar y hablar. También recuerden hablar con una velocidad conversacional al presentar para poder proporcionarles una interpretación adecuada y transmitir la mejor versión del mensaje de la persona que está hablando. Si está utilizando la aplicación de Zoom en su teléfono o una tableta, puede hacer clic en los 3 puntos que aparecen en la mano derecha de su pantalla y de ahí va a ver la opción de interpretación. Al igual va a ver las opciones de los diferentes idiomas que están disponibles. Si tienen alguna pregunta o duda, pueden mandarnos un mensaje en el chat y nosotros le ayudamos con lo que necesiten. Hello, everyone. My name is Diana, and I am here with Global Language Services because the organizers of this event have made a commitment to language justice. This is where we create a safe space where everyone can participate and listen in the language of their heart. And we will be doing this by providing simultaneous interpretation. So to use simultaneous interpretation, you will see a globe icon at the bottom part of your screen that has not appeared yet, but it will as soon as I'm done giving out these instructions. Once you see it, go ahead and click on it and select the language of your heart. If you're using the Zoom app on your phone or a tablet, you can access the interpretation through the 3 dots that appear on the right side of your phone screen. Then you'll see the option of interpretation along
Good evening. I call this meeting to order at 6:19 p.m. The following directors are present tonight. Director Stepp, Director Ramirez, Director Torres, Director Teitler, and myself, meaning we have a quorum. Thank you to our interpreters via Zoom, who will now share the interpretation instructions with our participants, and then we can turn on the interpretation function. Oh, great, they've got it. Okay, the first business in order is the approval of the agenda. Directors, are there any proposed changes to the agenda? No.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Directors, you've just approved the agenda as presented. Our next agenda item is our opening celebration by our superintendent, Dr. Rodriguez.
Good evening, board directors. I will try to be brief, but I do have about 10 things I want to share with you all. And a few exciting things that our teams have been working on over the last couple of weeks. So the first is, just want to share with you all a professional development opportunity that our staff participated in, led by Queer Asterisk. A couple of weeks ago, our mental health team participated, as well as some teachers and school leaders were able to opt in to better understand queer and trans identities, to create a culture that is welcoming to all. Number two is recently members of our instructional team and some school-based leaders met with CMC leadership to learn more about enrollment and college-going trends, financial aid opportunities, and to discuss needs and future plans. We're excited about our continued partnership. Number three, as a member of the Colorado River BOCES, we recently had our first Superintendent Advisory Council meeting. We discussed some of the ways we are currently supported, as well as some possible future support, such as the idea of a coordinated educator effectiveness council across our 5 school districts. Additionally, I've begun having some discussions, and I'm excited about working with our nearby superintendents and school districts on possible joint efforts such as aligned district calendars, recruitment efforts, and figuring out staff housing needs together. Number 4 is that last week we hosted our first round of virtual listening sessions. We learned a lot. Our participation was limited, but we received a lot of valuable feedback and are continuously thinking about increasing attendance and new ideas for engagement. I also want to celebrate our attendance as a school district for the month of September. It's at 94.95%, which is about 3% higher than this time last year. And it's just so important for all of our students to attend school every day. Thank you so much for so many of you being here tonight as well. Number 6 is I met with our Basalt and Glenwood Springs Education Foundations recently, and I just want to highlight those partnerships and thank them for their support for our students and staff. I also want to thank our partners at Valley Ortho who support our athletic programs across our schools. And I want to do a few quick shout outs to our athletic directors, our coaches, student athletes across the district. Our students participating in fall sports have a lot to be proud of. So just a few of those examples include, starting with Basalt, the ladies softball team is 9-4. Football, of course, is 4-0, and our golf team is in the state finals beginning on Monday. In Carbondale, the state champs for soccer are 5-2, and volleyball is 9-4. And in Glenwood Springs, our football team is 3-2, and one of those losses was to the mighty Longhorns from Basalt. Our volleyball team there is 10-3. And then number 8 is the Colorado Association of Bilingual Education recently recognized Mr. Jesus Rios Vera of Basalt High School as this year's secondary English language development teacher of the year. And they will recognize him on October 13th at their awards gala. And number 9, finally, as you know, on Friday, I sent out an email to all staff and RFSD community at large to express our strong support for our LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and visitors to our schools. And I'm in awe of the overwhelmingly positive responses that we've received from our community. As you know, earlier today, the Post-Independent also published my column where I elaborate a little bit more on why this call to action now. And Dr. Cole will also be sharing more information about the toolkit during the superintendent report shortly. This concludes my update and celebrations. I will now turn it over to Chief Park and to Dr. Cole, who will be presenting the superintendent update on the school performance framework and our gender expansive toolkit, respectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Kelsey, slide next. Oh, sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I think it's just a delay. If you can actually go back to just the second slide. The second slide. Yeah. Well, anyway, while it's happening, good evening, directors. My name is Stacy Park, Chief Academic Officer. This evening, I'll be presenting on our school performance frameworks for 2000. Yes. Can we? I'll speak louder. Hello, my name is Stacy Park. I'm the Chief Academic Officer at Roaring Fork District. I'm presenting our school performance frameworks for 2022. As you know, the state accountability reporting was paused in 2019, and ratings from the 2019 school year were carried forward through 2020 and 2021. And in 2022, the school year served as a transitional year and a return to standard accountability reporting with our school and district performance frameworks and ratings. And so some context, the district accreditation and school plan types are based on overall and student subgroup performance on 3 key indicators.
which include academic achievement, academic growth, and for our high schools, post-secondary and workforce readiness. And the Colorado Department of Education also provides information about participation of students in our annual spring assessments with in compliance with our federal legislation, such as low participation or meeting 95% plus participation. In 2022, our Roaring Fork District received a preliminary transitional district accreditation rating as accredited with improvement plan low participation, which is a downward shift from our 2019 rating of accredited, which you can see at the top. With the school levels, you can see between 2019 and 2022, again, the ratings from 2019 carried over to 2022. Across our elementary, academic achievement and academic growth stayed the same in between at approaching. Growth at our middle schools stayed the same at meets. And at our high school levels, academic growth fell from meets to approaching. The other two stayed the same. And when we get to the school level, you can see that 5 of our schools maintained their performance school plan types between 2019 and 2022. And 3 of our schools improved from 2019 to 2022. From Basalt Elementary School, Cypress Elementary School, and Crystal River Elementary School. Sorry, let me go over here. And then 2 schools decreased from 2019. And so you can see the breakdown of the 2019 performance and the 2022 performance. As you can see also, we have 1 school, Glenwood Springs Elementary School, that in our district that's on a turnaround plan type. And so per Colorado state guidelines, we are going to begin a process to evaluate schools' performance and adjust the respective schools' educational programming and approach in the current school year. Sorry, when I say programming, I mean educational plan. And so that involves 4 steps. It'll be first notification to the parents and caregivers at Glenwood Springs Elementary School of the specific school plan type, explaining what the ratings are. And then school accountability meetings with the staff and parents. That will be with the School Accountability Committee on October 18th. To gather input on the Unified Improvement Plan and to give feedback to the school leaders who are revising and working on that plan. And then a public meeting to discuss the school's action plan, and then a public hearing held by the board here prior to adopting the plan. In terms of our next steps, we've already been engaging in an in-depth review with school leaders on the performance frameworks themselves and growth to inform goals and plans for the school year in response. There's also support and accountability with the Unified Improvement Plans, which are required by all of our schools due at the end of this month. Reviews of drafts are coming this week and across the next couple of weeks before leaders are taking them to their school accountability committees. And then we have more frequent check-ins in place for our turnaround and improvement schools, as well as the overall district work of improving our data culture in the district, and then as also engaging with the school community for feedback on plans and improvement. I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Dr. Cole.
All right, my name is Anna Cole. I'm the Chief of Student and Family Services for the Roaring Fork Schools. And one of the teams that I support in our district is our Student Services team. That's a multidisciplinary team of leaders representing mental health, counseling, integrated health services, special education, instruction, counseling, and social emotional learning. And that team, you know, what I'm updating you on tonight is some of the work of that team. And so about 2 years ago, when the 2019 Healthy Kids Colorado data came out, when we looked at disaggregated data for our students, some really concerning trends emerged for our students who identify as LGBTQ+ in that data. And we recognized that there were some real concerns about inclusion, belonging, marginalization, mental health, especially for that specific group of students. And we recognized that we were missing the mark in supporting that particular group of students. At that time, student services team invested in a task force led by Lindsay Henschel, who I know is here, is now assistant principal at Glenwood Springs High School. Lindsay led a group of our staff and educators to really look and ask the question, what are best practices in supporting LGBTQ plus youth in schools? And that team came back to the student services team with a number of recommendations of things that we needed to do better by our kids. One of the key pieces and one of the first things that task force recommended was strengthening supports for gender expansive and non-conforming students. So when kids come to us, when families come to us.
Can you speak up, Anna?
Oh, sorry. When I'll use my teacher voice. The
mic is just for the online.
Thanks, Yadania. So what we did was the very first piece that we worked on was a toolkit as a responsive toolkit so that when kids and families came to us and said, we need to really talk about issues of confidentiality, privacy, logistics, gender identity, pronouns, names, that we had more tools and resources for our staff to support kids and families through that process, through those conversations. We recognize we're behind our kids in terms of supports and we needed to catch up. And so we spent probably about the last 18 months working on this toolkit, drafting it, having a number of stakeholders, many of whom are here tonight, including some of our student leaders, weigh in, help us refine, help us clarify what we needed to do, how we needed to better wrap around kids and families in terms of responding to their needs. And so the result of that is this toolkit. And so I want to talk a little bit about what's in the toolkit, where we're at in this work, and where our next steps are, because we have a lot of work to do to support this particular group of students. The purpose of the toolkit, again, it's a responsive tool for staff, for our leaders. And in a lot of ways, we've been using it for probably about 8 to 12 months in a soft launch with some of our school leaders and counselors who are working actively with families of kids who identify as gender expansive and gender non-conforming. And so again, the purpose of really stamping this toolkit is to affirm our commitment to inclusion and belonging for all students and staff members, to uphold American civil rights law and principles of individual rights, and to provide clarity for students, our community, staff who are asking for guidance. Again, our kids are out in front of this work. We're trying to catch up. We're trying to help when we know better, do better. I do want to bring up a little bit of the why, and I spoke about the 2019 Healthy Kids Colorado data that really launched a lot of this kind of strategic work. Want to bring to you some of the 2021 Healthy Kids data. Our students, our middle school and high school students across the district take this survey. It looks at a number of risk and protective factors, everything from drug and alcohol use, risky behaviors, relationships, belonging. It's really comprehensive. We do it along with many schools across the state every 2 years. The data for us regionally is available, as a region, you can go into the data online. We are now getting a lot of that data and starting to really dig through it. Some of the things that reiterated and really underscore why we have to do this work is identified in some of these data pieces that I've highlighted here. So one is really on this inclusion and belonging data point. And if you look at our strategic plan, what we heard from the community 5 years ago was belonging really matters, and we really need to focus on that. And when we look at this indicator and we look at what the kids are telling us, there's a real discrepancy between our students who identify as cisgender and our students who identify as genderqueer, non-binary in terms of feeling like you belong at school.
Yeah, if you can't hear, come forward because she's speaking this way. This is a school board meeting where we have board work to do. And so the purpose of this is to inform the board. It's recorded and you can always watch it online afterwards if you're having trouble, or move yourself forward and you'll be able to hear. Thank you.
Additionally, when we look at indicators of mental health and wellness, you can see the question the students were asked had to do with feeling so sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more in a row during the past 12 months that they stopped doing usual activities. Again, you can see a real discrepancy with our kids who identify as genderqueer, non-binary versus our kids who identify as cisgender. And finally, and this data is hard, is really hard for all of us who love and care about kids in our community to look at and to really grapple with. And it really underscores that we're not doing enough. And again, the discrepancy here with the percentage of high school students who seriously considered attempting suicide during the past 12 months. Our genderqueer, non-binary identifying kids are far more at risk of this. This really is concerning to us. This is a trend in the wrong direction, and we feel like it's a real call to action in addition to the things we hear from our students. So what's in the toolkit? Again, this is a tool for staff and school leaders. It really talks about how to support our kids, our gender expansive and gender non-conforming kids in terms of how we want to address confidentiality and privacy for our students, how we want to affirm students' gender identity preferences, and how we want to make sure that we're providing equal access to learning opportunities across all the things that we offer through the Roaring Fork schools. Additionally, there are tools and resources and links that reference some of the laws, the anti-discrimination laws that really support this work and require this kind of work. And then resources for classrooms, school, families, and communities. It is continually evolving, the toolkit. As we learn more, we're updating it as when we know that we can do better, we try to do better. So it's a work in progress. We've had a lot of our student leaders have advised us and been an important part of the creation of this, and they continue to consult and help us as we evolve in our understanding about how to better support our students. There's other work. This is not all that our task force recommended, and it's certainly not all that the kids are telling us we need to be doing to better support them. I mentioned the Healthy Kids Colorado survey data. We'll bring that to the board more this fall when we get more disaggregated, more from CU Anschutz runs the data, and they're working on kind of giving it to us in different formats. So when we get some more of those, we will bring that survey data to the board to look at. So stay tuned. We're paying careful attention to what that data tells us in terms of trends and our students' well-being. We also are rolling out, if we're rolling out tools for staff, we need to roll out support and professional development. Dr. Rodriguez spoke about some of the professional development we've already done this year, and we'll be continuing to provide that for staff as they learn to utilize these resources. I know that there's a lot of interested families and students here tonight. Please pay attention to our newsletters, our staff newsletters. We are looking forward to providing more information sessions for families, community members to learn about this work. The first opportunity for that will be through the District Wellness Council that'll meet after the Family Advisory Council on October 11th. And so that will be one of the topics that council will discuss, and we can have a little bit more time for discussion and conversation about this work. And then in 2020, the Colorado Department of Education published new comprehensive health standards. During this year, we are going through a typical process, but one that I think is important, especially given this work. We'll have a task force of staff do a curriculum adoption process where they'll identify across the comprehensive health standards, including comprehensive human sexuality education. We'll be identifying new curriculum to use for sex education in our schools that's aligned to the state standards. So what will happen through that curriculum adoption process is our staff will make recommendations. We'll have feedback from students, families through that wellness committee that I mentioned, additional branches of staff that'll weigh in. That curriculum adoption, the curriculum recommendations will go to Chief Park as our Chief Academic Officer, and it'll come before the board for final approval by the end of the year. So those are just some of the other ways that we're leaning in and really seeing through lines in the very concerning data that we're hearing about, looking at in support of our LGBTQ+ students, and some of the work that we are doing to try to do better by all our kids.
Thank you, Chief Park. Thank you, Dr. Cole. It's now time for board discussion. Each member will have 1 minute to ask your initial questions or share comments. After each board member has shared, there will be 5 minutes of open board discussion, followed by another round of board questions and comments. And we will begin with Director Ramirez.
Thank you. So thank you, Superintendent Rodriguez and Chief Cole. We appreciate not just the thoroughness of this toolkit, but you guys also making sure that it was not just well thought out, but also well presented and thorough. I really appreciate that. As a board member, I just want to say thank you. I think this is really important. I think it's needed. This is not curriculum, which I know that will be something that we talk about in the future, but I am in full support of this. Thank you.
Director Torres.
Yes, I echo those sentiments, and I definitely think this is a great topic of discussion, and thank you for all the work that's gone into this toolkit. I did have a question about the names and pronouns within the toolkit. Are there going to be a standardized process so that a student doesn't have to say, by the way, here's the preferred name I want, and then they go to perhaps an event where their preferred name's no longer showing, and then there's a new process? Is a part of this toolkit going to be clearly defined processes to follow at each school, both for their preferred pronouns and their preferred names?
That's a great question, Natalie. There's, the toolkit articulates a tool that we use to guide conversations with kids and families called a gender support plan. And in the gender support plan, we really talk about preferred names and pronouns. And then we also talk with students and families about privacy, the extent to which they want those names and pronouns used in our systems, right, that we use, our online systems where we identify kids. And so we really talk through all that. In terms of, do we have a consistent process preschool through 12th grade about, stating our clearly identifying names and pronouns right now? No. I think we're trying to figure out where do we find that right balance with developmentally appropriate, with honoring where kids are at. I think there is absolute agreement and support for whatever a child wants us to call them is what we call them. And we honor kids' identities in terms of their names and pronouns when we know. And I think we have some work to do in terms of creating environments where we're calling that out more explicitly. And we've heard that from students that they are looking for more consistent processes. And we're just not there in terms of a common practice yet.
But the goal is to have that be a part of that toolkit.
I think it would be. I mean, the toolkit's really responsive at the moment. It hasn't really dictated what specific classroom practices are mandated per se. I think it's something we're still trying to learn what's appropriate, what feels right, what makes sure that kids feel included and honored, and like we're affirming their identities.
Thank you.
Director Tytler.
I would like to echo the thanks for putting this together and having this as an agenda item. I think it's very important, as our district's goal is to recognize and support all students. And I think this is an important process in recognizing all students. The biggest question I had upon reading the gender expansive toolkit, which I think is great and how it's been rolled out, and I understand is sort of a guiding principle for students. I think we need to make sure we get to a point about educating students within our schools, because I think there's been some confusion with students within our schools of how they are to react, speak, and understand. And I think there could be some clarity given as an educational point for our students to also have a grounding tool to know how to speak correctly and engage correctly with other students.
Thank you. Director Stepp.
Yeah, I want to thank you as well for the great work. I want to thank all the students for showing up tonight in support of this and the work. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that we included their voice in this process. I actually had a question about the performance ratings. And just for hopefully a future agenda item. I think we all knew that the pandemic was going to set us back a little bit, and we've seen this in the data that's been presented the past couple board meetings. I know you're speaking with the school leaders and putting the plans in action, and I'm just like, what else can we do? Like, this is really, really important to me. When I see that we're not at the accredited green level anymore, that's concerning, right? And we talk about achievement gaps and things like that, but this is like a district-wide challenge. And so what can we do as a board to support the district, to support the school leaders, to support the students? I think we need to go all in on this. So I don't, there's not a question in there, sorry, but I just like in the future, like if we can be involved in those improvement plans or at least know about them. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to echo everything that my fellow board members said. I think that the work that was done on this was comprehensive. It was thorough. It was done over a solid 18 months, and it was done in response to hard data from our students. And so thank you, Dr. Cole, because I know that you've been working on this for a while. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, for bringing this forth and putting this out there. And I think that this is going to be very important for obviously students and staff moving forward. And I look forward to getting updates throughout this year and seeing how it evolves. I also wanted to circle back to the performance, because I likewise, I'm concerned, obviously, especially to see Glenwood Springs Elementary and turnaround status, and knowing that we have solid plans in place for moving that forward, I think is super important. And so I look forward to hearing more about that as we get more into this. Thank you. Okay, directors, we will now have 5 minutes for an open discussion with each other, and whoever feels so inclined can kick us off.
I was just going to mention, I think this is a perfect call to action for not just our students, but our staff to help the district, however possible, to not only better improve our toolkit, whether it's attending a family advisory council or attending any of the different opportunities that we have at the district level, but also informing the board as well as your teachers, your colleagues at work of what your preferred pronouns are, what you would like to be called. I think it's important and it's healthy for us to role model that for everyone else.
I would to follow up with that, just want to make sure that we're very clearly either on our website or through school communication indicating how parents can provide their feedback in those information sessions that Chief Cole was talking about. What they can do to be a part of that process could be really critical, and the different modalities in which maybe they can attend. So if it's an evening in person, is that something that we want to make sure we obviously have access if we need to by Zoom or interpreters to make sure that we include all of the community members' voice.
I would just like to follow up on what Dr. Cole said and the statistics that she pointed out to us. And we all can have our feelings and beliefs, and everybody is entitled to their beliefs that they have. But the statistics go beyond beliefs, and it shows how people are feeling. And I think there's that quote that talks about when given the choice between being right and being kind, you can choose kind. And I think in this time, we need to choose kind and support all of our students and give them the support that they need to feel flourishing and supported in their environment, and understand that we are here to give everybody the right that they deserve.
Well said, Mr. Kenny.
Yeah, when I saw those statistics on the suicide numbers, it just breaks my heart. And like, I love what you said is like, when we know better, we can do better. I love the fact that you said we've been using this as a soft rollout and it's a work in progress. So when we gather that feedback from the students, from families, from staff, and we can, this is working, this is not working, we can add this, it's, yeah, it's just something that everybody needs to learn to do better. So thank you.
while we have everyone here, I feel like a lot of the thread of our discussion has been about participation from our community. And I think that we are always open and willing to have voices from our community, student voices, parent voices, community members, attend those school accountability meetings, the district accountability, family advisory committee, the other one that you just mentioned that I cannot remember the name of, but these are all posted on our district website, and there are opportunities to get involved and opportunities for voices to be heard. And that's where this work started. And this is how we arrived to where we are. And I think I just want to kind of echo that, because it's the thread that I heard throughout all of our comments, is that we appreciate involving those voices and hearing those voices and figuring out how to incorporate those into what the district is doing. Anyone else?
Quick question, I guess conversation for us to have is including those voices, including that participation. Is there a timeline on the engaging with school community for plan feedback and improvement?
Can you hold it for 1 second when we go around to our minute again, and then
Okay, I didn't know if I missed it.
Dr. Cole can answer that.
Will you be ready for my question?
Anything else for board discussion? Okay. So we're going to go through one more round, 1 more minute to ask questions, share comments per board member before we wrap up this portion. Director Ramirez, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Chief Park, along that line of school accountability committees with school performance ratings, I'm wondering if the district is going to be providing resources to support our schools to make sure that they have a diverse group of parents and that their demographics are being represented within their school accountability committee meetings that will be looking at the UIPs.
Yes, I mean, that's something that is important. We want to have a representative group. And so in terms of having an intentional spread that is representative of like a parent, a community member, a staff member, so that we have a broad representation, including on our district accountability committees, that is something that we are striving for. We have work to do on that to make sure that we do have that representation, but that is something that is important to us.
And I guess just to reiterate along this conversation, will we also be including student voice in that?
I think in the, I think that is something that is, I'll say yes, that is. So yes.
Thank you.
Director Torres.
So surprise question. Now, how or have you put together a timeline for that piece of engaging with school community for plan feedback and improvement?
For the performance framework?
Correct.
Yeah. So the current plan is that right now, leaders and I are engaged in the process of drafting the plans and giving feedback on it. And then in the next couple of weeks, leaders are taking them to their school accountability meetings to get the feedback from the community and the staff and the members there. And then the posting needs to be on October 25th for the UIPs on the websites. And so it is across this next 4 weeks, will include the engagement with the communities, getting feedback, incorporating the feedback, and then bringing it to the board.
We're also working with the district accountability committee for
Yes.
the district's UIP with a similar timeline.
Great. Thank you.
Director Tytler.
I have 2 questions. The first one is on the performance ratings. Do we know why there was insufficient state data for the Bridges and Carbondale Community School when in the past they did have ratings? So it doesn't seem like it's a population thing.
Yes, the insufficient data is just there's a N size threshold that we didn't meet. So number of students, particularly in growth. The tricky thing about Bridges in particular is that students aren't always enrolled. They're definitely not enrolled all 4 years of high school because we don't take freshmen, but sometimes students are only there junior year, for example, and the growth data, you have to have taken the PSAT 10 as well in order to have the growth data. And so we just didn't have enough students who tested PSAT 11, for example, who had data from PSAT 10. Same for PSAT 10 and the previous year's assessment.
And do we know about why Carbondale Community School, but they have the same populations they've had in the past?
Yeah, theirs is related to the end size as well, but for CMAS. So what's tricky about CMAS for 3rd through 8th grade is that you had 3rd, 5th, and 7th grade, and then 4th, 6th, and 8th grade 2 years ago who took English language arts and math respectively. And then last year they took all of those assessments, but we didn't have a large enough end size or number of students who had tested in those two areas in particular the previous year. And so same reason, not enough students who had growth data available.
So without having the official performance frameworks, do we have an idea of how they're doing as a school that can be shared, or is that something that we can't share since we don't have that end size data?
Yeah, we can get that data to you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And then my second question is about the rollout of this toolkit. Again, I want to ask, do we have any plans as a staff, as a school district, of what we're doing to engage the students and have their voice and their needs met? This seems like sort of beyond the students, what we're talking about now. What are we doing at the school levels to include the students and make the community that's at the school a more comfortable place where everybody's feeling heard and involved?
Great question. You know, your point that you brought up about the school community and that the school culture and the language is one that we've also heard really clearly from our students. When Dr. Rodriguez and I have met this year with one of our GSAs and planning, you know, to check in with all the others as they get up and running. And one of the things we really heard from the students was education with peers and some concerns with students on how that's done and how we're working with that. And so that is another piece of the puzzle that we're going to be working on this year, is developing, you know, we have a crew is a great opportunity across our district to have that kind of curriculum and talk about the way we use language in schools, frankly, to draw lines around hate speech in classrooms and in schools, to really create clear guidance around hate speech and disciplinary action. Those are some of the things we've heard from kids that we need to do better. And so that is definitely another piece that we are working on. And frankly, in kind of excited that there are some of our student leadership groups, especially at our high schools, working on some of this professional development that they're seeing our crew lessons. And so we're excited to kind of do some of that work with our student leaders and then pilot some what will probably look like crew lessons this year. We just want to go carefully. We have heard cautions from students about, in particular, how that sort of a message is delivered, who's delivering it, in what context. And so we want to get it right to make sure we're not doing any additional harm. But that is definitely another piece of the puzzle that we need. It is part of the work.
Thank you.
Director Stepp,
I don't have any further questions.
Director, well, back to me. I don't have anything further either. Thank you, Chief Park. Thank you, Dr. Cole.
Thank you.
At this time, we will welcome members of the public who have signed up to address the board. There are 32 speakers signed up tonight. The board allots 45 minutes for public comment, and speakers are listed in the order that they sign up. If the first 15 speakers use less than their three allotted minutes, we will open up any remaining time to speakers on the waiting list. To respect the time of all who are present, speakers are to limit their remarks to 3 minutes or less. Reminder to all public speakers to please refrain from making complaints or negative comments regarding individual students or specific district employees. The total time for public comment will be limited to 45 minutes. Members of the public who wish to share their views with the board may also do so in writing at any time. For this evening's public comment, we received more than 115 written comments that we had access to prior to the meeting. When we call your name, we ask that you come up to the podium so that you can speak into the speaker so that those online can also hear. And we will go in the order that people signed up. Our first speaker is Elizabeth Taylor.
Hello, Dr. Rodriguez and members of the school board. My name is Elizabeth Cockrell Taylor. I'm here tonight to talk about the recent letter sent out to Roaring Fork School District parents by Superintendent Dr. Jesus Rodriguez. The point of this letter was to stress the importance that all students feel safe, valued, and welcomed in our school. I want to state right now that I completely agree with Dr. Rodriguez on this point. All students should be treated with kindness and respect. Within Dr. Rodriguez's letter were links to several sites, one of which was Trans Student Educational Resources, TSER. On this site could be found a graphic of a gender uniform describing the various distinctions between gender identity, gender expression, sex assignment at birth, physical attraction, and emotional attraction. The category I would like to address here is gender identity. Identity can be defined as who you are. Regarding gender identity, this appears to be determined not by any specific biological standards, but instead by the feelings of the individual. While I do want to respect the feelings of others, I take issue when the feelings of a distinct group of people take precedent over the rights of others. It's one thing to identify as a gender, but it's quite another to compel others to use special pronouns, open bathrooms and locker rooms up to transgender students, or allow transgender students onto the sports teams of the opposite sex. At this point, the rights and the privacy of those not identifying as transgender are being trampled. Dr. Rodriguez, you stated in your letter that you do expect that at a bare minimum, all of our students, staff, and visitors respect and honor each other's names, pronouns, genders, sexual orientations in our schools. My question is, what exactly did you mean by saying that you do expect that all of our students, staff, and visitors respect and honor pronouns? Will people be compelled to identify based on sexuality, gender identity, or any other distinction? What will you do if someone does not agree to use a transgendered person's chosen pronouns? Or if someone is uncomfortable with a transgendered person in their bathroom or locker room or on their sports team? As a reminder, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees religious freedom and prohibits the government from compelling speech that is contrary to an individual's personal religious beliefs. The 14th Amendment affords parents the fundamental right to direct upbringing, education, and control of their children, which means parents should be kept apprised of any health, sex, and gender identity discussions regarding their child. And Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 permits the separation of students by sex for assignment to sleeping quarters, and its implementing regulations similarly provide for sex-separated toilet, locker rooms, and shower facilities. I think we can all agree that all students deserve to have their rights and their privacy respected. I just hope that this consideration extends to students, teachers, staff, and others who do not identify as transgender. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Becker.
Good evening. My name is Chris Becker, and I'm the parent of 3 kids at Basalt High School. And tonight I'd like to comment on the new LGBTQ+ toolkit and express my support for it. To many of us here in this room, this is a discussion about ideas, principles, cited laws, and so on, what we think. But to our LGBTQ+ students and staff living their lives, these aren't little parlor discussions. These questions have real stakes, and these children and staff members exist. And this toolkit simply acknowledges that excellent and inspiring fact. As we all express our opinions here and tell each other what we think this material means, let's not lose sight of what it actually is. Guidance for teachers and other school personnel on how to best help a group of kids and peers who, again, exist, whether you are personally comfortable with that or not. Help them to feel accepted, feel empowered, and understand that their experience in their lives matter. It isn't a curriculum to teach. It isn't a set of rules to impose unless you consider respect for other people to be a set of rules. It isn't some kind of playbook for promoting ideas or for creating distraction. It is simply, as stated in its introduction, a guide to help teachers and other school personnel attend to a cohort of their students and peers in the most effective way possible, and to allow these students to learn and attend school with the dignity and understanding we all deserve. Now, I want to close by addressing the idea that our schools should stick to the basics and steer away from treating students as complete people and as individuals by providing guidance like this. Understand, please, that our kids are not sentient learning machines. They interact with each other and with their teachers in all the ways human beings interact with each other. Guidelines such as these allow teachers, other school personnel, and ultimately other students to relate to LGBTQ plus students and staff in more complete, sympathetic, and intelligent ways. In any case, please remember that these kids and staff members are the point of this material, not the cisgendered adults sitting in this room. The toolkit exists for them, and they deserve our respect and support, whether you are comfortable with that or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Maureen Bierman.
Hey, thank you so much. My name's Maureen Bierman. I'm a parent of one current kid at Glenwood Springs Elementary School and another who will be someday at Glenwood Springs Elementary School. Thank you so much, Dr. Rodriguez, for the letter that you sent and for the policy changes that you're starting to implement. Thank you to the board for supporting him. And I'm actually I met two really wonderful young people from Roaring Fork High School today who are both in the LGBTQ plus community. And I would like them to take my time and tell you guys exactly what this means to them. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jax Carpenter, and I am a senior at Roaring Fork High School.
Hello, I'm Alexander, and I'm a freshman at Basalt High School.
I would really like to state how important this is to us and how grateful we are for this. I recently was able to change my name in the school records, and it has made a huge difference in me feeling comfortable at school and seen. And it has really made going to school a lot easier because instead of worrying about all of being dead named or being used, like the wrong pronouns being used, I just kind of have to worry about, okay, what homework do I have? What schoolwork do I have? Like, it makes it easier for me to just focus on really what's important and not feel unsafe on a regular basis.
So I feel that the school definitely has made some good changes. I know that if you ask for something, they will help you. They'll try to accommodate you the best they can. And I know that I agree with Jax, and it is completely true that not having to worry about being dead named or misgendered is definitely a huge relief. And just focusing on school, because I know I get a little overwhelmed with all the homework sometimes.
Yeah, I would also like to add one final thing. I believe that this is a very important step because this is my personal opinion. I do not see how this negatively affects anyone. I only see the positives of how it can assist people who are struggling to feel more comfortable and secure at their school. And I think just acknowledging that like we exist and that we're here and we just want to go to school and learn. We don't want to like upset anyone or make anything weird. Like in the bathrooms, we just want to go to the bathroom. We just want to pee. Like that's it. We just have to go. We don't, nothing more than that. We just have to go to the bathroom.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lindsay DeFreitas. Did I say that right?
Hi, my name's Lindsay DeFreitas, and I currently have 3 kids in the district at Sopris Elementary School, a 4th grader, a 1st grader, and a kindergartner. They're over there destroying your Post-it notes in the back, sorry. I also taught 8th grade English for about 5 years at Carbondale Middle School, and don't worry, I'll speak loud enough for the people in the back. First of all, thank you, school board members, for being here, for the time and energy that you commit to supporting students, staff, and community by showing up again and again for these conversations. They are here for these conversations. They're not doing this behind closed doors. I just wanted to observe that really quickly. For anyone in the crowd who may not be aware, being a school board member is a lot like taking on a highly competitive unpaid internship, except that I've heard that interns have traditionally much better hours. All that to say, they're here because they care about these kids. I want to voice my wholehearted support for Superintendent Rodriguez's recent letter, in which he did a beautiful job of explaining in very simple terms why it is important to make schools a place where all students feel safe and seen. And I also support the continued development and rollout of a comprehensive gender equity toolkit for all district schools, staff, and students. All students of all races, all abilities, all genders, and all sexualities deserve to be able to learn and grow and to have the chance to discover the best of themselves in our classroom to bring back to their chosen communities. Without the certainty of being welcomed for who they are, the freedom to express that identity, and the feeling of safety which comes from those things, students can't learn. It's the first thing we learn as classroom teachers. If they walk into your classroom and they don't feel safe, their brain can't move up. You can't get to those higher level things that they're going to need to be successful in life and take back into their own world. It is therefore, more importantly, their long-term mental health, our students' long-term mental health is 100% on the line. In the same way that we teach healthy eating and exercise, we need to offer students and their families this critical information for their long-term well-being. It's therefore up to the school board to craft these policies after, yes, listening to people like us, but more importantly, after listening to the experts in childhood development, especially those with deep understanding of gender and identity. And I do applaud the tremendous work that the Roaring Fork School District has done so far in this regard. At this moment, many districts across the country and just down the road are facing bitter rifts caused by misunderstanding and mistrust between parents and school boards. While keeping student safety as the top priority, I do want to take just a second to encourage this board to continue to do everything within its power to maintain and protect the relationship we have with the parents and community members, and to support as much as possible policies which include parents in any of these discussions, to welcome them into the conversation. I know that it would break my heart and my trust to be left out of them with my students. I also want to encourage parents to work to keep the lines of communication open between you, your child's teacher, and the school board itself. Show up ready to listen, ready to learn, and ready to speak your heart. We have this opportunity in this moment of our lifetime to build safe, inclusive schools and set an example for our kids, that we love our kids and that everyone is welcome here.
Thank you. Up next is Ellen Friedman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Friedman. I've been a parent in the school district since 2009, and I'm still going strong. Can you hear me, Jay? I'm here to thank the board and the district team for all your support of our LGBT plus students and staff. This is critically important to me because I believe that every student and staff member must feel welcome and safe in our schools and our community. It also feels personal to me because I have a transgender nephew, and I've watched and I've listened as he has struggled through middle school and succeeded through high school. But it should feel personal to every person in this room and every person in our community, because we all have LGBTQ plus people in our lives, whether we know it or not. The Trevor Project study, which I encourage everyone to go online and look at, and which Dr. Rodriguez quoted in his recent article, shows alarming rates of anxiety, depression, and serious thoughts of suicide and suicide attempts for LGBTQ plus youth with LGBTQ plus youth of color being at greater risk. The study also showed that where schools and communities are accepting of these youth, the rates for attempted suicide decreases. You guys, there has been so much anger, so much divisiveness in our community and in our nation. Here is an opportunity for all of us to come together in caring and support of our LGBT plus youth and staff and families. We can do this together. We might save a life, and I hope you'll all join me. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Kimmy Mishka. Is that how you say it? No. No, sorry.
I tried. I'm going to start. Okay. My name's Kimmy Mishke, and I have a trans junior at Basalt High School. I came this evening because I wanted to express my gratitude to the Roaring Fork School District for releasing the toolkit and for doing that work. I also wanted to thank Dr. Rodriguez because I thought your letter was so beautiful, and it kind of blew me away, to be honest with you. I don't want to dwell on these statistics too much, but I do want to reiterate that LGBTQ plus youth are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide as their cisgender peers, more than 4 times. To be clear, this is not because of their gender identity or their sexual orientation. It is more specifically because of how society, both adults and their peers, stigmatizes and marginalizes them that increases their risk of suicide. As a parent of an LGBTQ plus child, I'm acutely aware of those statistics. So knowing that my child is supported by their school's administration means so much to me and my family. It's easy to condemn and exclude those we don't know or understand. So I appreciate that the Roaring Fork School District is taking this on and making strides to ensure that our most vulnerable kids can feel welcome and accepted in their schools. And now this is my chocolate.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for letting me be here. It's an honor to be a part of something like this. Words are working today. I'm just really proud to be part of our school district. I'm really grateful to everybody on our board and everybody else that does work with the school for supporting us a lot. And I'm really proud to be a member of the LGBTQ community. And thank you everybody who has come in support of us. It's really cool to see, and I wasn't expecting so many people. So thank you.
Thank you both. Up next is Janet Gordon.
Hello, my name is Janet Gordon. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Carbondale, and it is my privilege to work with the LGBT community. I'm emotional because this stuff matters. So thank you. And I just want to put out there that if anyone would like to have a discussion, a civil discussion, has questions, I'm available to have those discussions. And I want to hear concerns from people. I'm also aware that there are people who are better at me than to talk about this. So I'm going to turn my time over to Dr. Percy.
Hi, everybody. My name's Dr. Matt Percy, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. I live in Glenwood Springs, and I'm the proud father of 4. My 3 oldest children go to Sopris Elementary. Go Soaring Eagles. I'm also a family medicine physician and the chief medical officer at Mountain Family Health Centers. In addition to numerous other things I address in my clinic in Rifle, I'm proud to provide gender-affirming healthcare. I'm also speaking tonight on behalf of my wife, Becca Percy, who is a pediatrician at Castle Valley Children's Clinic in Newcastle and Carbondale. Since one of us had to stay home to watch the kiddos, I got voluntold to come give our statement tonight. We wanted to speak tonight to thank Dr. Rodriguez for his recent letter and toolkit in support of respecting students' gender identities and sexual orientations. Creating a safe, welcoming, and inclusive space in schools fosters learning and improves mental health. While mental health struggles and suicide rates are unacceptably high in transgender youth, they are not inherent to being transgender. Rather, they are the result of receiving years of messaging that they are somehow wrong, broken, or other. We can all help improve this by using students' preferred names and pronouns. In fact, transgender and non-binary youth who report having their pronouns respected by all or most people in their lives attempted suicide at half the rate of those who didn't. As physicians, we also know that gender is very complex and primarily a social construct, and is not the simple male-female binary some believe it to be. Trying to police or group people based on perceived gender is therefore not only wrong, but also essentially impossible to do. I am not perfect, but I do strive to do my best with patience and respect preferred names and pronouns. When I make a mistake, I apologize and work to do better next time. I was disheartened to read in Dr. Rodriguez's letter that some students are not experiencing this and instead are experiencing purposeful misgendering and repeated refusal to use preferred names and pronouns within our school district. I also know there are many allies working hard every day to create inclusive environments in our school. We can all do better, and with your help, our students will all do better as well. We appreciate the board and Dr. Rodriguez's support in developing this letter and toolkit on this issue, and look forward to an improved experience for all at our schools.
Thank you. Up next is Caleb Cook.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb Cook. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm an LGBTQIA+ advocate and a queer community member. I'm here today to thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, for his intuition to foster a safe, affirming, and inclusive learning environment for all of his students. Schools can be a very challenging time for all students, especially those in the queer community. I grew up in Iowa in a very similar school system like the Roaring Fork School District. I spent a majority of my time in school hiding because of brutal harassment I faced each and every day when I walked into the school building. Instead of focusing on the curriculum, I was contemplating whether or not my existence was worth living. This unsafe and non-affirming environment compounded into my depression, anxiety, and panic disorder that I continue to live with today. The only thing I could look forward to in school was moving away on graduation day and never looking back. No student deserves to live in fear. They deserve to be loved, cared for, and affirmed in their learning environment. Now, every week, I am blessed to work and mentor our LGBTQIA+ students in the Roaring Fork School District. I see a generation of talented leaders who have the potential to solve many of our local issues facing the Roaring Fork Valley. My fear is that without affirming leadership like Dr. Rodriguez, we'll lose our next generation of leaders. We want to foster a community where youth want to stay and support our valley throughout their entire life. We can do this by fostering a learning environment that affirms, cares, and supports students from all backgrounds. I think regardless of your personal bias, we can all agree that all students deserve a safe, affirming, and caring learning environment to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kate Bradley.
First, I want to thank Dr. Rodriguez for his recent letter regarding LGBTQ plus, Ellen, I know it's not easy, students in our district. Thank you for addressing the value of identity, whatever it might be. I am a retired district employee, having served as the librarian of Basalt High School. During my tenure there, I sponsored the GSA Gay and Straight Alliance Club. Coming into that club, I felt that I had an adequate knowledge of the LGBTQ plus community. However, I was humbled by what those students, Their parents and their allies taught me. I saw firsthand the challenges that that sector of the school's population faced on a daily basis because they were different. The club provided a safe place for our students and offered support. I was fortunate enough to collaborate with local organizations like Aspen Out and Gay for Good, and Janet Gordon, who just spoke, who was an amazing counselor, and came and worked with our kids every week. And they also lots of other kinds of support for these kids. But I know when they left that haven, they would probably be subjected to bullying and challenges. I dealt with several homophobic children in my tenure there. My purpose for being here tonight is to encourage everyone to honor one of the primary goals of public education, inclusion. What does that mean, and how can we get better at it as a district? Our LGBTQ plus students are trying to figure out where they belong. Maneuvering adolescence is enough in itself, but when you add the search for gender identity, it can become a huge weight on the formation of a person. Let's give them a place to belong, and let's help them along the way instead of judging and bullying them. What if we saw them as human beings searching for their place in the world, just like all of us?
Thank you. Up next is Debbie Brule.
Hi, my name is Debbie Brule. Do I have to be closer?
You just have to speak loudly. This is just for the Zoom and the YouTube stream.
Oh, so it's not a microphone?
Nope.
Got it. Thank you. My name is Debbie Brule. I am the parent of 2 graduates from our school system. I am here to express my support and appreciation for our superintendent's letter and column honoring our LGBTQ plus students and staff. What are our schools for, if not for opening our children's minds? What could be more important than teaching our children to have tolerance for those who may be different from us or from them, and compassion for those who may be struggling? We should strive to create schools that help children accept themselves for who they are and recognize their unique inherent value in this world. We are very fortunate to have a superintendent who understands the importance of those things. My oldest daughter chose to use her valedictorian speech to come out as gay during her 2015 graduation from Roaring Fork High School. In addition to coming out, she talked about the labels we put on people and the inadequacy of those labels to capture all of who we are as human beings. It was very scary for her to come out in this way, but the response from the school community was amazing. Her fellow students, teachers, and parents celebrated her bravery and honored her for who she is. That experience helped to set her on a path not just of personal success, but of giving back to the world with love and appreciation. I can't imagine the bitterness that would have eaten away at her spirit had the response to her graduation speech been full of chiding and derision instead. I am beyond grateful that our school district is being led by a superintendent as insightful, sensitive, and competent as Dr. Jesus Rodriguez. What we can do as community members is to give him our support so that he can do his job as well as he can and help our kids go out into the world as open-minded, confident, and loving human beings. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Auden Schindler.
Just going to stand in the general area of this mic. They can pick up. I'm Auden Schindler. I'm a parent in the school district. I'm also here representing Aspen Skiing Company, where I'm an executive. We have 4,000 employees, and we're the biggest employer in the region. I want to thank you, the superintendent and the board, for the toolkit and for the letter. I was looking around the room, and I see a lot of members of the gay and transgender community here, and you look happy. And you look happy because this whole community, which is huge and is our brothers and sisters and parents and friends and spouses and wives, are here to support you. And you should know that that is a big group of people. And we have power and numbers and influence and access. And we are there for you every day, every hour, every minute to speak in support of you and welcome you into our community as the wonderful people you are, but also to speak against the voices that disapprove of you. We are powerful, we are with you, and we are here for the duration. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Lori Naus.
Knaus.
Thanks,
All
Mr.
right.
Kenny.
Mr. Kenny knows.
Hi, board. Hi, Superintendent Rodriguez. I'm just here to, again, echo so many of the sentiments here tonight. I'm Lori Knaus. I have 3 students who have come through Roaring Fork Schools, one of which is still at Roaring Fork High School. The other 2 graduated. I'm currently employed at Roaring Fork High School as the registrar, and I have the unique honor that I get to work with so many of these young people. Jax is one of my NHS students, and it's heartwarming to see that the hard work that Dr. Cole and her team have put into this toolkit is coming to fruition, and that we as educators and staff members in the building can use this toolkit and apply it and actually see a difference. The fact that Jax is a different human being this year than what I saw last year as an NHS member. Jax, I can't tell you. It's the greatest gift that can be given to someone in education. And so this letter and your article in the Post-Independent and this extreme work that has been put in with Student Voice and with the GSAs, the Genders and Sexualities Alliances across the school district. I'm so impressed with all of this action, and I'm here for the duration. I see you and I love you, and I'm just so proud and honored to be part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Stacy Adler.
Hi. My name is Stacy Adler. I use she, her pronouns. I have 2 children in the Basalt schools, and I'd like to start by thanking the new superintendent and the school board, which we've heard already, but I just want to say it one more time, that you made this toolkit. I think what the school district is doing is extremely commendable. Many adults welcome guidance on making all children and young adults feel valued and important. My oldest child is 14 and just started high school. They were assigned male gender at birth. We named her Isaac, and throughout school, Isaac was often bullied, long before any of this part of her life came up. I know we all struggled in the last couple of years dealing with the uncertainties of a pandemic. At our house, we had time to explore who we are and who we want to be in society moving forward. During this time, Isaac revealed that she is transgender. Returning to school was hard. For children who already feel marginalized, unwelcome, and/or bullied, it is exceptionally hard. Isaac came back to more bullying than before, so much so that by the end of the 8th grade, we were looking at other school options. The hope of high school maybe being different was what kept us going. I am thankful that the school district is making attempts to work on the bullying problem that is real and dangerous. I am struggling to understand how this toolkit can be of a concern to anyone who does not currently have a child that identifies as non-binary or trans. I hope to learn more about where that fear or concern comes from and the parents that have those issues. It's possible that some people think that this toolkit and focus on bullying is unnecessary, but it is necessary. We need to be better. We need to teach our children how to be compassionate and understanding, how to live alongside others that they may not understand or agree with. We as a community and a school system and as parents are asking to have children act in a decent manner. I'm asking my fellow community members to talk to your children about kindness and inclusion. At the very least, teach tolerance. If there's somebody that you don't like in your class, then just ignore them. Leave them be. Don't torment them. Don't make their lives miserable. Trans, non-binary, and non-gender conforming students have a significantly higher risk of suicide, which we've already talked about. We've seen this in our community. My child is suffering from mental illness in part due to this school environment. This toolkit, when used appropriately and consistently, could make her life so much better. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Catherine Camp.
Hi, I'm Catherine Camp. I'm the mother of a Roaring Fork High School graduate and a Roaring Fork High School freshman. And I'm here tonight because my freshman is a transgender boy who he's had a wonderful experience so far at high school with the faculty and staff. He's felt valued and welcomed. He feels safe. He uses the bathroom of his choice. But he also feels more socially isolated than he's ever been in his life. He has old friends who cannot look him in the eye when they pass him in the hallway because they don't want to be seen hanging out with trans kid. He's had kids in his class refuse to be his desk partner because they don't want to sit next to him. All he wants is what everybody else wants in the world, which is to be seen and to feel a sense of belonging. And when I read your letter, Dr. Rodriguez, I wept with joy and gratitude. I want to applaud you for the bravery it took to step into a new position in a new school year and be at the helm of something that could cause a deep level of controversy. That's brave, so brave. And when I look at my son heading out this door to go to school in the morning, what I see is a little boy who is excited to go to school. He's eager to get out the door in the morning, and for the first time in his life, he's urging us to leave. And I feel that that's because he knows he's going to a place where he's being seen and that he's safe. And he is optimistically committed to knowing that he's going to find his people. And what you've created with this toolkit is an opportunity for kids who don't quite understand him to find the words to use, whether it's a new pronoun or new language around gender identity that they're not used to. And when kids who don't understand have the tools, then all of a sudden maybe it becomes safe to be seen with a kid who's different. And that is the beginning of changing this culture. And it may take time. But I am so proud to be standing in this room looking around me at all of the adults and kids who are here in support of this community. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike and Angela Rooting.
Hi, my name is Angela Roding, and this is my husband, Mike. We have two kids in the Basalt school system. They are in the middle school, 5th and 7th grade. I think everyone here can agree that no one should be getting bullied and everyone should be treated kindly. However, I do not agree that one group needs singled out when teaching respect and kindness, nor do I agree with the amount of time and energy put into this agenda when we have so many other academic related issues going on in our schools. The Gender Expansive Toolkit that has been established is with no doubt going to create more problems than it helps. It will bring more division amongst the kids in school, endanger relationships and families. It puts our student and staff in dangerous and uncomfortable situations, and it creates a huge liability issue for the school district. Furthermore, schools are not allowed to hide the mental and physical health of a child from his or her parents, except for in very rare cases. This violates the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which ensures parental access to student educational records. Dr. Rodriguez, you wrote about how a student was uncomfortable using the bathrooms at school because of their gender identity, yet you give no thought to how the other 90-some% of the students are going to feel if transgender students and staff are allowed into the bathrooms or locker rooms they identify as. Brain development, specifically the prefrontal cortex, is not complete until the age of 25 years. These life-changing decisions should not be made at this young of an age, nor should they be made in a school setting. These policies can cause irreversible damage to children by cementing gender confusion that might have been temporary. Let's get back to what schools are designed to do, and that is to teach math, science, social study, and English language arts. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We still have 9 minutes and 48 seconds remaining, so we will jump to our wait list. And the first person on our wait list is Ashley Otter.
Members of the board, I would like to preface my address to the school board by stating that I teach my children to show kindness and respect to everyone. And I have an immense amount of compassion for students who experience bullying and other emotional issues that arise with gender dysphoria. However, I'm here tonight to express my concerns regarding the direction the district is heading. What was outlined in the superintendent's latest newsletter was alarming. First, allowing biological males and females to share a bathroom, locker room facilities, and sleeping space on overnight school trips with transgender students is inherently unsafe for all parties involved. These spaces are completely unsupervised, and students are in a vulnerable position. All students are in a vulnerable position, which opens the door to sexual harassment and assault. When the district tries to persuade parents that our children are just, and I quote, feeling uncomfortable rather than unsafe with this new change, I have to push back. Safety is best addressed proactively instead of reactively. So it is the procedures that are put in place before an incident occurs that keeps our students safe. As a school board, what policies will be put in place so that my child and other children are emotionally and physically safe in these unsupervised locations? Secondly, the toolkit states, in some cases, notification of the family carries a risk to the student. If this is the case, a trusted adult can participate in the process. This policy sends a message that children need to be protected from their parents, and it is a violation of our parental rights. Instead, our district should notify parents immediately if our students, our children, are experiencing gender confusion, because it is such a delicate and complex issue, which could have lifelong ramifications. Lastly, I would like to encourage the school board to focus on education and closing the achievement gap that is so prevalent in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Yvette Trincado.
So I have two students in Basalt, and we are so lucky to be there, right? Because they feel supported. We've had some rough situations come up. We've been able to work with administrators and teachers to get them like through it. Hoping at the end of that they're going to be thriving. not just surviving. And so, man, I think like a lot of people, I don't want this to turn into an us against them battle. I don't want it to be just another thing that divides us, because I think that every student in our school district, I'm like, I just want world peace, right? I think every student in the world, they deserve to be seen, heard, loved, to know that they're valuable and that they're special, that there's amazing things about them that should be honored. And then I come from a background of someone who suffered through a long period of sexual abuse and harassment from another student in school. And so from that perspective, I bring that, being triggered and having fear for the students, because I don't want something to come up that allows any student to be targeted, to allow any student to be harmed. And I think that someone said, I don't know what parents are afraid of. And I think that there are some parents like me with that background who maybe is like really loaded down on the statistics in my world of trauma, in the world of sexual assault and abuse, and knowing that about like, oh man, these numbers are crazy and they're so scary. And I look at this as like, whoa, guys, like, can we please make sure that we're creating safe environments for all students? I don't want a student to be put into a situation where they're easier to be targeted because suddenly they are on an overnight trip. Like with my background, I'm really nervous about my boys being on overnight trips. And I think for the parents of gay and lesbian and transgender students and everything that group encompasses, I think my heart is with you. The world that you're facing can sometimes feel really rough. And I don't want you to feel that it is an us against them, but there are parents with some concerns.
Your time is up. If you could wrap up your comment. Thank you. Up next is Otter Rivera.
Hello, I'm Otter Rivera, and I am the Colorado 2022 Colorado Teacher of the Year, and I am here supporting. I had a lot to say, but I realized that I want to make sure I honor everyone's time, so I'm actually going to let my students speak. I asked my students today what belonging meant, and I had one of my students write, belonging means to feel safe and included and accepted. And I want to thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, for your letter and for your support for all of our students. I'm not really sure what we're talking about with division, because in my 11 years of being at this district, I've never seen us more united than we are right now, and so it's a very exciting moment. I'm going to use the rest of my time to read a letter from a student who wanted to be here but is sick, so I'm going to read it for her. And she says, hi, I'm Brighton Hathaway, a 15-year-old sophomore at Glenwood Springs High School and daughter of Joel Hathaway, the principal at Glenwood Springs Middle School. In my household, I was always taught to treat people with kindness, respect, equality, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, and sexuality. According to the Trevor Project, in 2019 and 2020, studies found that LGBTQIA+ youth are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide than their peers. This is due to a variety of reasons, but I guarantee that one of those main reasons that this statistic is present is because these individuals feel unsafe and unwelcome at school, a place where they attend almost every day. When our new superintendent, Dr. Jesus Rodriguez, stated that he wants our schools to be safe and welcoming to these students and staff members, I was thrilled. When we allow these individuals in our schools to feel safe and welcome by giving them support, we are automatically giving them a better and stronger and more fulfilling education because we are creating a safe and welcoming environment for these individuals. We are creating schools where they actually want to go and schools where they feel welcome. With all that being said, I would like to thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, for releasing this letter and invitation of welcomes towards the LGBTQIA+ individuals in our schools. And I also want to just say, on behalf of the Teachers of the Year program in the entire United States, we are 100% in support of all of you guys. Keep up the good work. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. The next speaker signed up using what I believe is a pseudonym, Amelia Bedelia. So if there's someone that signed up using that pseudonym, you're welcome to come on up. You have 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
When I was raising my kids, or as I've been raising my kids, when I had AIDs, I would identify as. But having said that, I have a lot of concerns about what you propose, because I have a son who in 7th grade was standing at the urinal and he was in the bathroom and didn't lock the girl and just stood there and got him. He said he pulled up his zipper and he laughed and he didn't go out for the rest of the day. Then I also heard a story from another boy who was at our house. The same thing had happened to him, and just put drinking water at school, and as a result, he suffered from headaches because he did not dare to go to the bathroom. I know a lot of kids probably go in there just to go bathroom, just like my son wanted to go, however, they did not. He did not feel safe. And I also had a daughter who was in the locker room, and she stepped out of the shower, and there stood a transgender guy, and he was very clearly just looking there. And he was fully clothed. And so I have a lot of concerns about the safety of the students, especially hearing what has happened in other schools. And also in our family, we have cousins that are in the, and my son can love them and associate with them as cousins too, but I would not expect him to share a bedroom with them if we were staying at their home or at them from family.
Thank you. We have 45 seconds left. So the next speaker on the list is Jay Corsi. We can't yield time. The next speaker after Jay Corsi is Nancy Bacheldor. We're trying to stick to the rules.
I do appreciate all that you guys do in serving. We all love the kids. Everybody who's in this room here loves the kids and wants the best for the kids. I think that we need to really look at what you're talking about and said that this is about responding to kids who are having issues and coming in, and I think that's awesome. But what I'm concerned about is the possibility of it. If we look at, I'm worried about the suicide stuff. And if you look at the study from Sweden, where they studied all the people who transgender transition in Sweden, they had a 19 times higher rate of suicide than the non-transition people. So I just think that if there's a lot of this, we need to look at this more.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everyone again for being here, for participating in public comment. We're going to take a brief 5-minute break, coming back at 8 p.m. So that if people would like to go, you may go. The rest of the meeting is policy updates. So not quite as exciting, but thank you again all for being here. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
I know I shot it.
Good to see you. This is my boss.
We need Jasmine.
I told her to come back.
We need Jasmine.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I tried to yell. We're going to reconvene the meeting. So if everyone could either take conversations outside or take your seats, please. I can access my inner teacher voice if I have to. I've got it. It's loud. Should I do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Meet me in the carpet, or meet me at the carpet in 5?
Yes, do it.
All right. Okay.
You brought snacks?
Yeah, I need snacks. Urania?
Oh, they probably.
Did we lose Urania? I just want to make sure we're live online again. We are? Okay. Thank you. It's 8:04 p.m. Welcome back. So the next business in order is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes routine personnel, minutes from our previous board meeting, approval of proposed policies, ECAF, JICDA, JICI, JK, DB, DBD, and DBG on final reading, the repeal of current policies ECAB, JFK, and GBK, and recoding of current policy ECAF to ECAG. Directors, are there any items that you would like to pull off the consent agenda for a separate discussion and vote? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Call to vote? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Directors, you have just approved the consent agenda. It's now time for board discussion. Each board member will have 1 minute to share any comments. We will begin with Director Torres. If you have any comments on the consent agenda.
I have no comments at this time.
Thank you. Director Tytler?
No consent agenda comments.
Thank you. Director Stepp?
No further comments.
Thank you. Director Ramirez?
I guess I'd just like to mention on a couple of these, specifically the finance, that I do hope, and obviously board policy states that we will make sure that all of the proposed budget gets seen by community. And I just want to reiterate that I really hope our district does the proper channels of notification via email, automated text, and automated phone calls of the budget hearing before it happens and is approved by the board. That's it.
Thank you. I have no further comments on the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything to add in board discussion? We have 5 minutes of board discussion.
As related to that.
Yep. No. Okay. So we'll go ahead and move on. The next business in order is discussion on proposed policies JEA and JF. And we will move straight into discussion, and we will start with Director Stepp. Chief Park will come up to the podium. Man, that's late. So Director Stepp, if you want to jump in with any comments, questions on JEA and JF. This is.
I mean, when the recommendations come from CASB and the staff doesn't have any recommended changes, I'm kind of like, okay, it's good. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Director Ramirez.
I think in regards to JEA, I'm just wondering, how are we gonna, be tracking this? How are we gonna be measuring, like, what is gonna be the follow-up procedure, which I'm assuming will fall into regulation of how you will implement this, but I'm just wondering, what will this look like and what measures are gonna happen prior to this being shared with or implemented, I guess, like where the law enforcement is brought in or something, because I'm assuming that's what will happen with the court issued orders. On JEA.
Yep.
And for clarification, is the question around how we enforce that students who are at least 6 are actually enrolled in school?
Yes. Well, and how are we going to enforce if we find that there are students that are not in school?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with the families who have a choice of where their child is attending school, I don't think we can do a sweep of some kind, but I do. This is actually has implications if there are attendance measures, for example, or making sure the students are attending school. So if a student is 5, for example, on or at this time and they're in kindergarten, they're we would not be able to say, for example, you are mandated to attend school because you are 5. It's actually 6.
My question, I guess, to further clarify, if we have a 16-year-old who has just arrived,
I see,
and is asked to go to work instead of coming to school to finish their senior year of high school or to have any schooling, how will we be capturing, or how will that, I'm just trying to understand, if this child somehow comes into our purview, how are we going to follow up with the parent then to make sure that this child does come to school instead of dropping out? Because I think one of the biggest issues we have is we have kids who drop out and nobody knows what happened to them. And there isn't like a follow-up with the family. And I just want to make sure that there's measures prior to there being a court order.
Yes, thank you.
Director Torres.
I just wanted clarification on the denial of admission in reading the board shall provide due process of law to students. And I know we had covered before previously, then we have that process clearly stated separately outside of policy. to show what that
Yeah.
denial of admission process that the board would go through.
Thank you.
And I know this has come up before, just to make sure, obviously, that that's clearly stated consistency as far as the process in which you would follow.
Yeah.
It sounds to me as though, obviously, this is added per CASB, very similar to Maureen. This makes sense.
Yes, we will. That's one of the things we want to make sure that we do, that all of our policies are aligned, or sorry, regulations and processes are aligned and supportive for sure.
Thank you.
Director Teitler?
I only had one question on JF, and again, it's a CASB thing, and it was crossed out, and I can understand CASB must know better than me, but I have a question about the part where it says students who were expelled from any school district during the preceding 12 months, or whose behavior during the preceding 12 months in another school district was detrimental to the welfare or safety of other students. And so why do we know why we're crossing this out? It seems like that's a fair thing to have in there.
I can say that CASB doesn't always give explanations for their recommendations. We could certainly dig in to see if the law changed in terms of where that recommendation might have come from.
And is like the preceding sentence prior to that, like covers that maybe, or I don't know.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to follow up on, circle back around to both your question and Kenny's, because we've brought up the issue of due process of law before. And I think the thinking was that due process of law is kind of a legal term. And so by putting in there due process of law, we know what that is, but that can also evolve and change as courts change things potentially. So that's why that's one thing. And Director Teitler, my thoughts on that were that this is included in our expulsion policies that we just approved. And, expulsion and suspension would be a period of time that may include the beginning of the next school year. So that's why I would think that it's superfluous. But if you have I had no other questions of my own on these. They seem pretty straightforward. Those are my thoughts on why we wouldn't want to include that extra language in there. It just seems like it would be something that could potentially be complicating when we have policies specific to expulsion and suspension. And it seems like that's where that should be kept versus denial of admission, which is a separate thing in my mind.
Did I say back? I don't know.
Well, so now we're going to move into 5 minutes of board discussion. So yes.
So just to answer that question, I hear what you're saying on that, but from the way this reads to me, it's different because expulsion is for kids that we already have, and this is for kids that might be coming into the district. And so that would be a separate issue because we don't have expulsion of people who we haven't expelled.
And so then it might be a change in law. I would guess that it's a change in law where you're not allowed to do that, where you would have to make your own determination as a district. That would be my guess behind CASB's reasoning. I don't know. Does anybody?
No, the part that just concerned me of that where is the detrimental to the safety of other students. And so that was the part that caught my attention.
I think the only thing I want to add is that I really want to stress again that as much as CASB telling us what we should change and adopt on our policies, like we can stray from it, right? Like they are our policies for our school district. And so I just want to make sure to reiterate again that although it's great to get the recommendations, I would like for us to really be intentional with the policies we bring forward to make sure that they're not only good policies, but that they're really thorough on what we want to accomplish as a school district. So that's all I want to add.
I agreed. I'm glad that you pointed that out too, because that seems, if we accepted a student who we were well aware that was expelled from another school district due to endangering other students in their previous school district, and that may impact the safety and welfare of our students here, then why would we not consider that as a denial?
I kind of read it as that, like Director Kuhlenberg said, that that first sentence kind of covers it. So like, why would we
With applicable law.
Yeah, it's like, why would we just kind of signal out that one instance of where we might not? Because there might be other instances that, and if we haven't stated them, then does that apply? You know, so why are we calling out that one and not? And so if we just leave it more general, like, I mean, I get what you're saying, like safety of our students should come first. Maybe we just put like a comma in there, like.
Well, it seems
in
like at some
accordance-
point it was like beyond like that first sentence and somebody thought it was important enough to have added it at some point. So
Again, I think that we need to know if this was a change in Colorado law, because this seems like a situation where there could have been a change in law that says you can't deny a student admission, because then essentially a student could be in a position of not gaining admission to any school, right? And
And I
be
s-
denied an education.
and I see Dr. Rodriguez said, let's follow up on this one. So I'm good leaving it at that and letting them follow up on that. If everybody else is fine with that.
I do just want to add one thing, which I find fascinating and I didn't know prior to this policy, was that it's any person's age 6 and under 21. And we had this conversation with Yampa not too long ago about, you know, some students who are preferring to go to that school because they can stay there longer, graduate at their own time. And I in no way want to like start saying that we're going to be taking 20 and 21-year-olds, although obviously we can. But I just find it fascinating that I have heard from families or, you know, who their student just arrived and they're in that age, 16, 17, could be senior year of high school. And it's been sort of like, oh, well, your kid's too old. And so I think this is going to be a really important policy to make sure we're having a conversation with a community and to be stating out loud that, you know, if your child comes here and wants to attend school and needs to finish high school, they are able.
Thanks. Any other discussion on this? So we have one more round of 1 minute each to ask follow-up questions to Chief Park and Director Stepp. Start with you again.
No further questions.
Director Ramirez,
No further questions.
Director Torres,
No further questions.
Director Tytler,
No, thank you.
and I don't have anything either. Okay. Thank you, Chief Park. So next we will invite up Chief Davlin. And the next business in order is discussion on proposed policies GBK, GDE, GEF, GDF, and GDQD. We'll again move into discussion and we'll begin with Director Ramirez.
Okay. Well, I did want to, and I recognize that we are or have repealed one GBK. Is that correct? We did repeal it. Okay. Now I understand why everybody says it's hard to be the first one. I'm trying to open the original link. So concerns over wrongdoing and fiscal management. Is there any? Was that added by CASB? No.
Which
was that us?
Which policy?
Oh, I'm sorry. The first one, GBK. That would help. Or was that us?
That was us, trying to kind of delineate, there's a staff grievance, and then there's discrimination, which has its own process. And if you're worried that someone's stealing money, you shouldn't file a staff grievance. You should immediately go to your supervisor.
Okay. I think for this first round, I don't have any questions yet.
Thank
So
you.
I'll go for my turn.
Director Torres.
I do not have any questions. I thought it was pretty straightforward with of course, the caveat that we've discussed previously, creating process and procedures that outline more clearly what would happen in cases that come up. And I noticed Chief Dallin, you had put in here that there's another policy that is relevant, that is the GDN, that describes the evaluation of support staff. I think that's an incredibly important one to come up next, as obviously evaluations could give more insight. If a staff member was terminated for performance issues, then they've had plenty of notice before that. So thank you for including. I wondered that same thing. There must be an additional evaluation process. So hopefully that will help us as well.
Director Tytler?
The only question I had was on GDQD. And again, it was another one of the ones from the state of their suggestions, but I was not understanding why we would be wanting to pull consumer credit reports of our classified staff and how that would relate to their job. And do we know why that's that way?
We don't in practice, but the law allows us the option to do it. And so we keep it in policy if we wanted to.
But it seems like prior it wasn't policy, because before this being scratched out, it said we will not obtain. And now we're saying, okay, we're gonna get rid of that part. And so now we can. So like, I don't know, that just seems.
The changing of will.
Still.
I'm sorry, I was confused and I thought, okay, that was added.
Probably said shall not.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was confused by that. I am all better.
But
Thank
you're
you.
right that in practice we don't do that.
Director Stepp?
I just had a question about on GBK, the red part that you added. Concerns wrongdoing should be reported immediately to the most appropriate supervisor. I don't know if that would be clear to someone. Maybe it is. Like to me, I'd be like, well, is it this person or is it that person or you know, like I don't know if that needs more clarification or if that is understood. Like I don't know.
Could add or to the.
Like, because if the concern is about their direct supervisor, then that would not be the most appropriate one. So then you would go to their supervisor or like, I don't know if that needs any clarification or not. I was confused. So I would hate for somebody looking up the policy would be like, well, who is that? Like,
So I didn't have any real questions on this, but just to, I think you could easily fix that by just putting at the end, comma, as determined by the reporting employee. So then that puts the onus on the reporting employee to identify who the most appropriate supervisor is and
How
gives
about
them that.
or directly to HR.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that would be fine as well, but I think if you limit it as directed to HR, it's the same concern, right? If you're limiting it to one person, then if you're reporting about that person, then you're out of luck. And just as a note, anything in red is new language that staff has added. Just so we're clear on that. And yeah, I appreciate having some really straightforward policies this evening after the excitement of earlier in the meeting. So thank you. And I've no other questions or comments on these. Directors will now have 5 minutes for an open discussion with each other on these policies. Any other comments? No, I really think these ones are mostly some pretty minor updates and getting in alignment with law and CASB. So
I just kind of have a general observation about the tobacco and nicotine free schools.
The repealed policy,
Mhm.
the policy that we just repealed.
The ADC.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Repeal, yeah, it's outdated. Sorry.
Which one?
Yeah, the one we just repealed.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'm just throwing this out because hearing secondhand that when someone goes into a restroom at the high school, there's 50 people in there smoking, whatever, vaping. And, you know, there's little vaping things all over the ground. And I just think it's a hard thing to control, but it's an issue. And kids are getting addicted. And maybe we can bring it up in the future about something.
I guess to clarify, EDC is not up for.
No, I
No,
believe
it
we
was just-
repealed it last meeting.
Yeah,
at our last
it's a
meeting.
No, I
repealed. I'm just, because it was on here, it just triggered me to say something.
EDC is a current policy. It's the G staff policy. It just expanded. We're not a tobacco-free workplace. We're a tobacco-free district that applies to staff and students and buildings.
So we do have a policy, tobacco and nicotine-free schools, which I hadn't seen before, but I definitely think if we want to put it on the agenda, on the future agenda. item
Future
to
agenda,
Discuss it,
yeah.
we can.
Sorry to go off topic there. Something I felt strongly about.
Make a note of it. Any other discussion on these policies? Would anyone like their additional minute to go around for additional questions? No. Okay. Okay, so we will go ahead and move on. The next business in order is reports and comments. And we will begin with Director Torres. Oh, thank you, Chief Devlin.
And I apologize, so clarification on reports to share with the board on committees or, I have no reports to share with the board at this time.
Director Tytler.
I have no reports as a board, but I do have a comment, and that was with the grand crowd that we had in here and the number of people. I think we need to look into something about having some kind of microphone system for, in case in the future we do have a large crowd, that we're able to accommodate the crowd and have some kind of setup to allow people to be more comfortable in hearing what is being said.
Thank you. Director Stepp.
I kind of want to ditto that, not even if there's a large crowd, but sometimes in this big room with the ventilation, it's hard to hear because I'm hard of hearing. That'd be nice if these microphones were tied into a speaker. I just have a quick update. As you all know, I've been working with Ben Baumfach on the CTE that the school district is doing. And so those conversations have been progressing, and there's some cool stuff happening there. So I don't know how much of an update you want, but more.
Feel free to update us. Yeah.
More than that?
Yeah.
The school district has, they're focusing on two different areas. One is in construction and carpentry, and one is in computer science. And each of the high schools is offering some flavor of computer science. So those are the two CTE areas that, and they've also convened a task force from the different high schools to look at creating a vision for career and technical education for the district. So hopefully we'll have some things in place by next year. Well, there's some things happening now, but there'll be more.
Thank you. That's exciting. Director Ramirez.
I guess my only comments is, especially with the policies that we're trying to bring forward, and I know it's a learning curve and we've adjusted as needed. But I am wondering if we can find a way to, like even today I was confused with which ones were the final. And I know that like we've said 1,000 times already which ones it was, but I wonder if we could have like staff changes in red, director changes in purple, and then the final reading as you guys want to present to us, final copy that we are approving in like green or something, so that I know what you guys, especially because for me, like policy has been such a big thing that I've been working on. so that I know at the end, like what you guys accepted and what wasn't. Because I think what I find really difficult is trying to go through all the policies again and trying to see the language that was updated.
Yeah, I have reports, but just a quick idea for that. I think it would be as easy as a reply to comments, like if directors make comments on the dirty copy, the marked up copy, a reply to yes, we accept it, or no, we don't. And then you guys give us the clean copy as you're presenting it for approval. I don't know, a color system seems overly complicated to me.
And I will also say the policy committee might be able to fix that.
Yeah,
right?
so that can be worked for the
I'm
policy
fully
committee
aware,
moving forward.
But also, I just think like, it would be helpful to know which one was the board and the staff.
Yeah. So I was excited that tonight during our work session, we determined committees, because that I think was one of the key questions last year, was what committees we're sitting on. I also wanted to let you all know that I, for the last 2 Fridays, have been involved with Finance Fridays through George Washington University. So I'm trying to learn what Nathan does. Just kidding. I'm not going to have any real understanding, but I'm developing a deeper understanding. And it's 2-hour sessions for four groups, and they gave me a scholarship to do it. So I would encourage you all, if you're interested, they're going to continue to do these cohorts that are specific to board members. And then I'm also going to apply for this cohort of school board partners, which Jasmine has sent to me. And the early application is due October 1st, if anybody else is interested in doing it. I know some of you are at the end of your terms or nearing, but I think it's useful. And the first couple of Finance Fridays have been really beneficial and informative. And I expect we'll have more to report after we meet as a policy committee and other committee assignments. We have 5 minutes for open discussion. If anyone has anything they'd like to discuss around board reports and comments.
That's what we just did.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that was our reports. Now we can comment.
Just quick follow-up from our work session with regards to our changes with our committee memberships. Will the new people in those roles be reaching out to let that committee know that they are new to that group, or will somebody be contacting them to say that our membership has changed? What is the expectation?
District staff will manage that.
Fantastic.
Okay, great.
I have
Thank you.
a couple other things. First of all, I would like to say that I have appreciated when Director Torres and I got to meet with Dr. Rodriguez at high school and got to travel. And I just think that we got to meet and have discussion. I just think that discussion time, and today I met with George, and just to have that governance time and get a better understanding of what our role is and expectations, and being new to the position and still understanding what I can do is very helpful to have those discussions. And then secondly, I would like to have a little bit of a conversation still about like our board tracker and how it is that we're getting response to that, because I made an edit. I made a request in the board tracker and I haven't heard any feedback now 2 weeks later. And how do we talk about getting some type of like agenda item, or how do we talk about having board discussions, and when is there time to have that without the follow-up coming from that?
And that's something that George and I discussed.
Oh, so I maybe missed that. Okay, that.
It is. And I think with the policies, I have the same concern with using the board tracker when we're updating policies, because it's not timely enough that we get a response prior to the meeting. And so I think the policy committee is going to have to figure out some other way that works, because we can't get draft policies Friday, submit to the board tracker Monday, and not get responses until after the Wednesday meeting. Just the timing. So we just have to figure something else out with that. And then with agenda items, George and I briefly talked about that today. And I'll be shooting an email out to everyone.
Okay.
The only thing I want to ask and maybe flag, and I know that there's going to be other opportunities for us, like to bring up committees that we might, the board, I already forgot what it's called, that one.
SOP.
But I wonder if, like, have gladly participated in the Family Advisory Council, and I think it's really important. I don't think it's limited to one person attending or being on it, but I also wonder if like the DAC, is a place where we might want to have a board member attend, or maybe we alternate. I also wonder about school accountability committees. Like I know that that's truly the role of the superintendent and his team and the DAC to make sure that they are, that the school accountabilities exist. But I do wonder if like we ever want to consider attending those, or the PTAs or the PTOs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation we should have. I did forget to update you on DAC. I'm meeting with Chris tomorrow for just a brief check-in, and then we've Friday. Yes, in my mind tomorrow is Friday. And so we've tentatively settled on, a rough schedule of when the DAC will come and present to the board as the DAC continues to get up and running and look for new membership, which is why I tried to plug it when we had all those people here to get more people interested. But Chris emailed me and asked about that schedule. And what I proposed is 3 times annually, basically like once a semester, fall, winter, spring, and to get updates on what they're doing and what they're discovering and finding and their recommendations. Sorry, I forgot to provide that update.
I don't know if this is when I do this. I had someone come up to me at the break and say, "Are you done talking about this?" And I was like, it's not a one and done, right? It's an ongoing discussion. And I don't know if she was asking like, are you going to talk about another board meeting but just to keep the discussion open and at the forefront. And I don't know if we need to put it on another board agenda, but how do we keep engaging with people? So I just wanted to share that.
Okay. So we are almost done. We're going to move to appreciations, and typically we do individual appreciations, but tonight we have agreed as a board to do one appreciation, and that is for Dr. Cole and for all of the work that she put into this toolkit and the work that's gone on, not just in the past month, but for the past year and a half. We all are very appreciative of it. We can all see it. It obviously means so much to our community and has had such an impact already. And over again tonight, we heard thank you to Dr. Rodriguez and to the board, but we wanted to extend thanks to you because we know you were the one that was pushing this along. And so thank you very much.
Can I do a real quick one?
All right.
Sorry. I was just thinking about this. It was obvious that there was an overwhelming majority of people in support of the letter and the toolkit and the board support. And I just want to appreciate the other voice, right? There were some that came and spoke their truth and how they felt. And that takes a lot of courage in a room where it was, they were in the minority. And so I just wanted to, make sure we're still open to the other, because it's important too.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If there's no further business and there's no objection, the meeting will be adjourned. It is 8:40 p.m. Don't give me a gavel, Kelsey.
There's nobody here.
Well, yeah. I'm